Nigga acts about me, nigga acts about me, nigga acts about me, nigga acts.
What's up, y'all? This is Let's Be Conscious, and I'm back with another video. So for tonight's topic, I want to throw a little picture up here. Alright, so if you didn't pay attention to the thumbnail, the picture that I just put up here, obviously it depicts two men and they're in a relationship. You can tell by their body language that they are intimate and they are each other's boyfriends or husbands or what have you, but one of them is obviously pregnant. So of course in the comments you had people like, oh well, how is this possible? How can a man give birth? Obviously the person that gave birth, and if you look at their chest, they have the scars that shows that they had a double mastectomy. They had their breast cut off. So obviously this person is a trans woman, but I didn't want to assume, but it's obvious because it was on an LGBTQ page as well. But this person also could have been intersex. However, when you saw the scars, they were clearly female, genetically. With that being said, one of the biggest disadvantages, aside from facing homelessness, aside from getting rejected from your family, aside from being fearful of people accepting you and just living life, it's a hard pill that you gotta swallow, knowing that one day you may never be able to have children. Now, new life should always be celebrated. This has nothing to do with this child. However, this couple cannot relate to the struggles that two gay men will face when they want to have a child, or two lesbian women will face when we decide to have children. It's not the same, which is another reason why we shouldn't be grouped in together. Our path to parenthood is completely different, and I'm just gonna say it. Most trans people, they kind of have it easy. I wouldn't say most, but now, like the ones that I've seen, like, and it's a lot of trans men, and trans men, I've seen y'all be gay men. And I remember when the L Word was out, the character Max, he was a trans man, but he found out he was pregnant. I've said this in a previous video, and I'm gonna say it again. I cannot fathom for the life of me why a trans man, you do so much to want to be masculine and want to be a man. Why would you want to do something as feminine as carry and birth a child? So what makes me think, okay, well, so was the pregnancy just not planned? Because obviously if you're a trans man and you're getting pregnant, most of y'all, I have yet to see a trans man get pregnant and go to the sperm bank. Most trans men that I've seen, not saying that they're not out there, I'm sure it's probably one or two out there, but for the majority, the trans men that are getting pregnant, they're in relationship with men. So you're a gay man mentally having a relationship with this gay man, but you're having heterosexual sex. How are you having heterosexual sex, but you're in a gay relationship? That's what I'm saying. It's so many contradictions to this LGBTQIA shit, and as far as the L, the G, the B goes, we got a whole different path. After that, sexuality doesn't even, it supersedes that. And this might sound like some hating shit, but I'm gonna kick it to you like this, like, I went through the trying to conceive process. I went through buying donor sperm and doing the research hours and hours and hours. I spent a year. You know how you lay in a bed and you scrolling for 3 hours because you just want to unwind? For a whole year, I'm scrolling timelines, hormones, when to do this, reading different articles, how to do this, how long does frozen sperm last, how much does this cost, what sperm bank is this, joining groups, doing this. Like, I put the work in. When you are under this umbrella and you have the advantage of sexually reproducing, we are completely different. Your birth certificates, I mean, if you choose to, they can say parent, but how do you break that down to a child when it's old enough to be understood? How do you break down to a child when you're a man, but men can't get pregnant. If you're a trans couple, you're a trans man, and if you had a daughter and she know that you're a man, she calling you daddy, she know that's a male term, how are you gonna explain sex and everything to her? She gonna think, oh well, men can have babies, so I can get a man pregnant. Like that's a lot. And people might say, oh, that's the pot calling kettle black, because how you gonna explain to your child that you have a donor? But I can explain that's a completely different ball game in my opinion. If my child, if and when, because I'm sure she will, when she asks about how she got here, she will know that she had a donor, and she will understand the laws of the laws of how we get here, the basic laws of our physical realm, that it takes a XY and an XX to create life. Yes, they don't have to have sex, but it takes an XY and an XX to create life. I don't care what your sexuality is, and me as being a lesbian, I'm not living in a fantasy world to where it's though like, yes, that's my child 100% financially, emotionally, but I'm not living in a delusional world where I want her to call me daddy, or I'm going to tell her, okay, well, me and mommy just made you by ourselves. No, it don't work like that. And when you do that, you set your child up for failure. And I'm not into lying to children. Children are smarter than you think. And when you lie to children, you are not giving them the tools. And like I said in another video, you gonna lie to them, but guess what? They're gonna get around certain family members, and they're gonna hear certain shit, and they're gonna wonder certain shit, because especially in the black community, because our families love to tell it. We love to talk. A trans man having heterosexual sex is never gonna know how vulnerable it is to have to ask somebody to be your donor, which is where you start off first. You grow up like with these males and stuff. You think they your homeboy, you think they your brother, and that's fine. But that's fine that they are exercising body autonomy. That's fine. But you so close to the men around you as because most of the time it's the doms that's gonna ask. So unless they them bisexual doms, they gonna go ahead and do what they do. But if you got a homeboy, you want to have a baby, you gonna ask your closest homeboy. Most of the time he gonna say no. I mean, they can't relate to having to go outside your race, because that's the only way you're able to conceive. Trans couples that have heterosexual sex to have children, they don't have to plan it. Maybe they do, but they do have the advantage of their genes mixing, seeing what both their kids will look like. They got that advantage. And they also don't have to pay as much for a surrogate. Like, it's hard as shit as a lesbian couple, but as a gay couple, it's damn near impossible. If you aren't affluent to a certain type of level, you are not going to be able to afford a surrogate. We know how much surrogates get paid. Then on top of compensation, you have to also pay this woman's medical bills. Anything goes wrong, any genetic testing, you have to pay for that. And also, surrogacy services aren't covered by your insurance. So you're paying for all that out of pocket. So if you're not making a lot of money and have saved up as a gay couple, aside from adoption, actually having genetic offspring is almost unattainable. And then I want to go another route with this really quick. So we know that in hospitals, in the medical industry, that there are different specialties that are gender affirming. If you're going to a urologist, that's male care. If you're going to a gynecologist, that's female care. It's a department. You got women's imaging. What's going to happen when the trans community decides that if they didn't get a mastectomy or something and they got to get a mammogram, even though men get mammograms too, biological XYs can get breast cancer, what's going to happen when they say, well, I don't like it being women's imaging, not all women have breast cancer. Biological men probably have never had an issue with that, but, trans men might. Or when you have a nurse, picture this. You're a nurse, right? And you got 10 women on that floor. You got 10 women on that floor. I'm sorry. You got 10 people on that floor. You got 10 people on that floor, and 9 of them are, they are not, they don't have any pronoun requests. They are, you know, what you see is what you get. You know that she, her, whatever. What happens when you get to that 10th room or that 5th room or something, and you're at work and everybody's at work, you're going that mode, you have a routine? What happens when you mess up because you done went into those other 5 rooms and said, okay, are you okay? Are you ready to breastfeed or something like that? And then the person gets offended like, oh no, it's chest feed, or you have to stop yourself from, you have to retrain your brain, even though you're on the mother and baby unit, the labor and delivery unit, you have to train your brain to say they, them. You have to say, oh well, you have to call a lactation consultant and say, well, are you going to help them chest feed or something like that? Or you have to refer to them as a birthing person. Not only is that insulting to women, biological XXs, it's very confusing, and it's not fair to an already stressed healthcare system. And the way shit is going now, yo, I will be so mad if somebody decides to take a lawsuit and sue a hospital over some gender affirming shit when you decided you wanted to present as male, but you wanted to do something as, and so inherently female, as giving birth. You can't expect the world to bend to you. That's a childlike mentality. That's how my 3-year-old feels. She feel like the world just supposed to bend with her. Like, as an adult, you supposed to know, like, look, the world don't bend for you. And just because somebody slips up, that's not a sign of disrespect. But you can't expect somebody to retrain their brain and retrain their whole way of thinking just to accommodate you. And the request is really unfair. Unless that medical specialty is completely is geared around that, unless you see an endocrinologist and they're testing your hormone levels, they're giving you hormones to, I guess, affirm your gender, they are used to it. But you can't go to a gender affirming medical unit and expect for them to just change their pronoun just for the minority when they're used to saying something addressing the majority. And wouldn't being pregnant kind of make the gender dysphoria, wouldn't that exacerbate it? And the Seahorse dad thing, like, it's kind of cute in a way, but we're human beings. We're not seahorses. That couple one day is going to have to tell that child, like, hey, like, I'm your mother, but I'm your father as well, I guess. I'm not sure how that conversation will go. And I feel like that's a lot to take in. It will be a lot to take in for a young child trying to understand the rules of the world around them. And it also would be a lot to take in from an older child. And when trans people say they feel like they don't have to disclose, do y'all feel like y'all don't have to disclose to your children? Or, would you just live a lie? Would you just say, oh, well, your daddy's adopted you? I doubt that, because they had a baby shower, it's pictures and everything like that. But that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, how can you feel like you're another gender when I posted this on my personal Facebook page, and one guy said, he was like, as a man, this is hilarious. And he wasn't really disrespectful, but I can understand where he was coming from, because no man on this earth wants to carry a child. None of them. I guarantee you. Not a straight man anyway. Probably not a gay man even. Let's be safe. Let's be conscious. Let's not lie to our children. I'm out. Peace.
Nigga X about me, nigga X about me, nigga X about me, nigga X.